everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome and thank you for joining us on this journey of self-examination and identity architecture. We started out with this journey of self-discovery, and that is really getting to know ourselves as we are, the version of ourselves presently. Sometimes we perform life because of our inherited belief system, and we turn into a person that we really are not. You know, we are shaped by traditional norms, social construct, religious indoctrination, family habits, patterns, and so forth. And so, you know, we are really now taking a look at who we are presently, discovering our true selves, you know, the things that we like, and making decisions for ourselves so that we can go through life living authentically and organically. We can be our authentic selves and we can live organically. So again, that's kind of what this show is about. And for those of you that watch the show on a weekly basis, you know, it's always great to have you. And thanks for the for the little notes you send me, and for those of you that still remain incognito, and I understand perfectly, because you know sometimes we're at different level of consciousness, of conscious awareness, and we are not ready to share or to come out to be public with others, because once you start discovering who you are, you could upset some relationships. Some people may question you. Some people may question your motivation. Some people may think that you're crazy or whatever. So until you get into your comfort zone, and you will know when you are free to share, and you're no longer afraid of judgment, shame, criticism, condemnation, none of that. You just really come out as the person that you are, and ready to minimize or shrink your circle if people don't really align with your understanding of yourself, the new version of yourself. So keep that in mind. It's a process, and we are all at different stages, different state of consciousness. So no pressure on yourself. Anyway, we are having a great time. We have a few days left. My husband and I, we are celebrating our anniversary, and we generally celebrate the whole month. And you know, every year we kind of hone in on a theme, trying to add meaning to it. What does it mean for us? And this year it's really interesting. What we have honed in on is not focusing on longevity. We've been married for many years, but the focus is not on longevity, because what we have discovered is that the real value here, at least in our relationship, is the quality of the relationship. What has the quality of the relationship been in the last years that we have been married? And what do we want it to be? Keep in mind, when we got married years ago, or even 10, 20 years ago, we were different people. We had different plans, and those plans were not conscious plans by us. They were just, the way of being, the way of living, the way of conducting, based on the collective, based on what is expected, and really designed by external agencies. And you just go along to get along. You know, you go to school, you graduate, you get married, you get a job, you buy a house, if kids are in the mix, you raise the kids, and you wait till you retire to then start living. And that's kind of like the norm of things. That's kind of like the mindset that people, the way of thinking, the framework that people adapt to. But for us now, now that we are thinking, what is the quality that first of all, we did an inventory of our past, years together. And I've shared before that we when we got married, we did not do the marriage vows. That wasn't part of our thing because we just didn't do that. But now, and we still do not subscribe to that thought process. We look at our relationship and we consider the growth process we have both engaged in, and of course we have different levels of growth, and then you make a decision. Does this work for us? Does this fit our expectations at this point? Is this something, is this, what is our definition of happiness right now? What is our definition of freedom within the relationship? What is our definition of intimacy within the relationship? What are the things that makes us happy within the relationship? What are those things that are bringing us joy, peace, contentment, and really allowing our relationship to be meaningful and to flourish and so forth? So we do inventory of the past, and some of the things, we pointed out where we could have, correct, improve, modify, alter, and so forth. And we discovered the things that we didn't like. We focus on people, social connections, and see what worked for us. Some connections have expiration dates, and some connections really add no value. Some connections are light, some connections are strong, and you decide which one you will nurture the most. So we did that, and then we decided, you come into a place where you start setting new goals, new ideals, new dreams, new expectations, new standards, new boundaries, and so forth. So it was really interesting because once we sat down and we decided on the newness of this going forward from here on, what we expect and what we want to amplify, what we want to enforce, what we want to strengthen, so that we can have the whole idea, my friend, is this. You want to have a meaningful life. You want to have a life that is fulfilled. You want to have a life that is, a life that is fulfilled, a life that is satisfying. And it has to be satisfying to both of you. Now, if you are single, it's the same. Whether you're partnered or single or married, whatever, it is the same. You want your life to be fulfilled. You want to have a meaningful life. And if you are, let's say, if you are single, widow, divorced, whatever, expecting to get, meet someone and build a life with, because that's the whole idea, is when you're partnered with someone, you're building a life that's beneficial to both of you. I want to encourage you to stay prepared, to keep your desires active, to keep your mindset in motion, to keep your dreams, hopes, and expectations active, so that you can begin to live, the reality of it. Because your reality is, life is all energy, and your thoughts and your emotions is what determines your reality. So as you decide what you want out of life, as you decide what you want your life to be, you can keep that in motion by your thoughts, the way you live, the way you allow your life to be, the things you do, your social structure, and all of that. And with that, you will see that you will come into that person that you are hoping to meet up with, and so that you can enjoy life and create something meaningful. So anyway, we really start focusing on that. It's like doing a reset. It's like, okay, this is what I like, this is what you like. And then we made a decision that we are happy, content joyful, building a life together. We still enjoy our company. We're still passionate about us together as a unit, as a team, and we really make a conscious decision to move forward, not because of any vows, not because of any kind of commitment or any kind of ritual. We just made a decision that we like each other. We like what we have built. We like our time together, and we just determine how we are going to enhance that. I want to encourage you, if you are partnered with someone, whether it's your husband or a partner, relationship, situationship, whatever it is, I encourage you, because if you don't do that, your life will become so monotonous, so monotonous, so ritualistic, so on autopilot. You get up, you do the same things day in and day out, doing the same things over and over again, with no newness, no adventure, nothing new. And sometimes it can get not only boring, but you lose interest in the person that you've chosen to share life with. Some people, they think, well, I'll just endure this relationship, or I'll just endure this marriage until you've said vows, till death do us part. But it's not. You don't sit around waiting till death do us part. You do things, and whatever it is that you like to do. Some people are, this couple shared that they also did a reset. They've been married for 30, 40 years, and she and her husband just started this date night. That's new for them. For us, that's something that we do all the time. But that was new for them, and for them it was interesting, because now they're going to different restaurants, and some of the restaurants, they have jazz music, and some of the restaurants have dancing and so forth. So depending on where they go, they're enjoying that weekly activity together. And for them, sitting with a glass of wine and just really enjoying the evening, that's what works for them. Some people may just choose to stay home and play games, play cards, or whatever, or blend with other couples or other people, just a social setting. But it's interesting. It's important that we are conscious, because this whole journey of self-examination, and that really it's a great thing, because for me, what I am finding is that I am discovering so many facets of myself, so many new things about me that I did not really pay attention to, but I like. There's so much creativity. There's so much, because of my drive, my desire, my the energy that I exude, the creativity. And I'm always looking for something new, something different, something innovative, something exciting. I am always looking for something new. I'm always reading. I'm always staying, trying to stay abreast of the things that's happening in the world, in my surrounding, all of that. So, but this self-examination, I start asking questions like, take freedom, for instance. What does freedom means to me at this point? And I want to encourage you to ask, to do the same. Doesn't have to be freedom, but whatever. What does this relationship mean to me now? Not just the relationship with your immediate partner or husband, but the relationship with everyone that you know. Some relationships may have expired, or you may notice that there's no reciprocity in the relationship. Do you get excited to be in certain groups, to be, among certain people? Is it something that's stimulating to you? And all of that. Start asking those questions. Who am I now? What is the version of me that I know now? Because if you don't ask those questions, my friend, you may be functioning on the version of you that was 20 years ago, not even 10 years ago or 5 years ago. I know personally I have changed drastically and radically, because my changes, when I talk about, when personally for me, when I talk about change, the thing that I focus on, the thing that I concentrate on is um, the norms. I don't want to continue life with inherited beliefs, with beliefs or traditional values. You know, if they're working for me, then of course you keep them. But if they don't work, then I want them to come to light so that I can discover, wait a minute, why do I do this? Why am I doing this? It's like, this whole thing about uh, anniversaries. My husband and I, we said, the collective, the norm is you say happy anniversary or congratulations. And because I was listening to a podcast of this young woman, she said that her parents were married for 52 years, and they have 6 kids together, and the kids threw them a big shebang, a big party. And while in that whole mix with the family and friends and big thing, the mother said to this woman, to the child, one of the children, that of the 52 years married, she has only been happy 5 years. For 5 years, she said the 47 years has been pure hell. And when I was listening to that, I thought, damn, it's like, boy, that's really deep. Because what happens is that, if you meet a couple that's been married for 60 years, you're like, wow. And, we honor them, we admire them, and, we want to hear their wisdom and all that and all of that. But in the meantime, that's just chronological time, longevity. How long have they been married? Have they been legally married? But the relationship doesn't really speak the story of their time together. And that's how I thought, you know what I mean? I thought, the longevity is really just a minute portion of this whole anniversary. What became important to us, it's the quality. What is the quality of your relationship? How do you communicate with each other? Are you happy when you're together, or are you in one room and the other person is in another room, and you don't even talk, you don't, you no longer hug each other or kiss each other, or become intimate, sexually intimate, and all of that, and because all of that adds to the quality. If you're really looking for something meaningful and something that's fulfilling to both of you. And one of the things that we saw or identified where we had to pay some attention is in the area of emotional intimacy. Sexual intimacy is great. You've got to have sexual intimacy in a relationship, because that connection just keeps you passionate about each other, and there's just something about one's sexuality once you understand your sexuality and what it does to your emotions and your mind and the connection with your partner. Sexual intimacy is crucial in a relationship. But emotional intimacy has to do with emotional connection. And, for women, we always say things like, for women, sex starts here, or intimacy starts here in the mind. And interestingly enough, we have had this discussion, my husband and I, in the past, but I have come to a better understanding of what that is, even myself. You know what it is as a woman, but men sometimes we need to, they can't guess what that is unless you are schooled or in that area. So as we talked about it, we talked about excuse me, emotional. We talked about we talk about closeness, we talk about touch, we talk about being heard, being seen, being chosen, feeling as if you are the priority for that person, and all of those little things that sometimes we overlook throughout the course of everyday life. I know, like, when my husband calls me from work, that to me tells me that he's thinking about me, because when he calls me, it's not like to do something. It's like, just checking in. You just want to see how you're doing. How's your day going? Anything new? And we just have like a quick conversation. And that happens like at least, 2 or 3 times a day, just because, not as a regimen, but you just checking in on each other. And that says something, because what it says is that the person is thinking of you. So I want to encourage my women friends to really pay attention to that. But on the flip side, understand also that the men also need that kind of attention, admiration, respect, and all of those things as well. The things that they do, I know, the other day I had to tell my husband, I am just so proud of you. Some things that happened, and I saw some beautiful things, and you have to voice it. Sometimes we get into a place, a position, a state of mind where we don't tell our person how much we appreciate them, or how much we value them, or how much we appreciate, we're proud. He's like, I admire that quality in you. So these are things that we have to be mindful. And you will see, the more you get to know yourself, the more you get to examine yourself. And, if you have anything on the inside that sometimes needs to be addressed, some people are, one woman said that, she has some resentment that she's been carrying that she has to deal with. And I said, well, if that's the case, then you need to have a conversation with whomever it is. If it's with your immediate, if the person is immediately next to you, or if it's a family member or whatever, a child, then if it's something that you can resolve, that you can address, then you do it now. You do it in the present. You don't, or if something that you can just let go of. I like to, if it's something having to do with my immediate surrounding or my spouse or whatever, I am one that I need to get it in the open. I need to make clear what has been, misaligned, and whatever it is, that I'm holding on to, or something that may have disturbed me, or whatever. And you have that conversation, and you get it in the open, so that the person, your partner, spouse, whatever, will know exactly what is going on. And you can then move on, because the whole thing, I remember, I said earlier that everything is energy. And when you use up your energy to hold on to something that's negative, it's going to affect you adversely. It's just like, why do you think doctors recommend, or nutritionists recommend, not to eat late at night? Why? Because your body functions on energy. And if you eat at 8 o'clock, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, whatever, it takes at least minimum 4 hours for the food to digest well. So the energy that could be used to heal you, to regenerate the cells, and then you go into a phase of autophagy, which is, cell regeneration, cell renewal, cell rejuvenation, where, all the cells, the good cells, they attack the bad cells, and they get them out of the way, and they get rid of them, and they replenish with new cells. If your body is, let's say, for instance, sometimes I try to end my eating. I don't know, if I'm by myself, it's like, 5, sometimes even 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I, indulge in cucumber lemon water, and that's filling. So that when I go to bed, my body will have the disposable, available energy to heal itself, to renew the cells, to rejuvenate the cells. It will have the energy, instead of the energy being used to digest any food, the energy is used to renew. So we're talking about adverse emotional uh, baggage that we carry, resentment, anger, uh, unforgiveness. That forgiveness thing, that's a whole different thing. I have a whole different mindset about forgiveness, but that's just me. Again, remember, this whole journey is about self authorship. You can make the changes and you can create things that work for you. You don't have to follow the norm. You don't have to follow the definition of everything. I know that everybody says, forgiveness is not for the person, forgiveness is for you, it frees you and so forth. I can write you off and detach and go along my way. Don't hold anything against you. Shut that door, close that chapter in that season, and I'm good. That's just me. That works for me. You can determine what works for you. Some people need closure in a lot of things. They need to see the person, and then they need closure and regurgitate what happened and how you made me feel 20 years ago, and how you didn't respond or pay me back, or all of those things. Comes a point where you have to take authorship, ownership, for yourself, for your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, so that you can function in a way that is beneficial for you, for yourself. And that's how so this forgiveness thing, sometimes people drag it out and they just make a whole chapter on forgiveness. That doesn't work for me. But if it works for you, then it is valid. If it works for you, it is valid. What I'm saying is that the energy that you would the energy that you would use in any kind of adverse emotions, into a relationship, you want to make sure that is things that are positive and optimistic, and things that you can look forward to, relationships that you enjoy, that you are looking forward to nurture, activities that you actually fascinates you love, and not things that make you feel like you just go along to get along. Again, remember, self-authorship is when you take the pen and you start to write the manuscript. You start to look at a whole new blueprint. The blueprint that you are guided by is the blueprint that you have created as the architecture of your life, of your identity. And this is who you are now, based on the specs, based on the tools, based on all the requirements needed to create a brand new identity, based on what your values are and your standards are, and the boundaries that you set up for your life, the non-negotiables, the expectations, any limitations that you have. All of those things, you determine where you are going with that for your life. Is it important? Of course it's important, because if you don't do that, you are operating on someone else's blueprint. I discovered that, and that's why I say that I'm not a religious person, because I discovered that in religion. I used to abide by a set of rules that after I did my research and investigate, like, where did this come from, who created this, and all the things that I had been taught. And I had to come to the place where I was convinced, that I had my own conviction, that I was fully persuaded, that I knew. So after doing a lot of research and realizing the origin of everything, the Bible, religion, the purpose, and all that, so I was free to walk away, simply because I learned the truth. and I know the truth, and that is the truth that set me free from that. So I could set up my standards, my boundaries, and my direction based on the truth that I learned. So I encourage you to do the same. Again, the journey of self-examination is all about you, and you can't understand this. If you can't drag your partner along with you, because we are at different levels of conscious awareness, and you cannot uh, make someone know something. You can share it with them, that becomes information, but for it to become conviction and truth to them, it's something they have to learn themselves, and that deserves your respect, your patience, your time. But then we go back to self-love. When you love yourself, you can navigate through life, loving other people, respecting them, honoring their position, honoring their level of understanding, honoring where they are. We are not here to police other people's uh, growth. We share as we see fit. And if I'm sharing something with someone and I see that it's not, they're not getting it, or they may not have interest in that, I just cut it. I don't, those pearls, I don't just throw them out there. All I know, if it works for me, then that's what's important. And however their lives lives are, that's on them. And that's okay. We're not here to police other people. We're not here to judge. We're not here to criticize. We're not here to shame people. None of that. We are here to live our lives and be able to have a cohesive relationship with the people that are around us. What drives that? What motivates that? The love that we have for ourselves, we can see other people the same way. The same way, with love, understanding, patience, and all of that. All of that. But it's important that you focus on yourself and ask yourself the critical questions. How do you plan? How do you intend to spend the next 10, 20, 25, 30 summers of your life? How do you plan to spend it? What do you want your life to be? Who are you now? And why do and how are you going to accomplish that? How important is it to you? Freedom? What is freedom? What is freedom? Define freedom to you. Define peace. What is peace? What is your peace? And how can you attain that level of peace that you desire? For me, it's so important because, my creative juices, and peace doesn't mean sitting in a quiet place. Peace is a state of being, a state of mind. When you get some kind of, news or situation, you zen in your calm, and so that you can think and reason, analyze, and submit to critical thinking, make a decision if that's what's required, or do whatever you need to do. And but to be always in a sense of peace and calm, it's a beautiful thing. That's the wealth that we have today. Peace is the new rich today, because with all the turmoil that can be around us, to come to a place where you can really embrace peace is wealth. Is wealth. And in the midst of the chaos, if you can bring yourself to that place, but you have to understand it. You have to define what it is to you. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you? Your lifestyle, you can redefine or redesign, I should say, your lifestyle. What does it mean to you? I mean, are you happy with what you are, who you are, what you have, and your surroundings? And if you're not, it doesn't say you have to go buy another house. Keep the house, redesign the lifestyle, change things up a little bit, change it up. And, if you are thinking, well, you can't do it by yourself, give it a try. Little things, just little things. And then from one thing, it leads to another. Take a room, change it up a little bit. Change it up, move things around, or buy new things, new accessories, new, home accessories, and change it up to a way that is more fitting to the version of yourself at this time. My friend, it's fascinating the things that you can do. It is all fascinating. And not just fascinating, it's all real. It is all real. And that's what makes life palatable. That's what makes life so meaningful, because you're living intentionally. And that's what I encourage you to do, to be intentional in everything that you do, even if it's at work. Sometimes you may be in a difficult environment, with people that are difficult, perhaps a manager that's difficult, whatever. Change your mindset, change your way of thinking, change your way of looking at things, situation. Change the way you work, change the way, you may sometimes want to get to work a little early so that you can have an early start and get things set up in a way that will better suit you, so that you don't have anyone micromanaging you. Whatever it is, you can switch things up to benefit you. Once you start, again, examining, that self-examination, because what you want to do, you want to mitigate the level of stress in your life, whether it's your personal life or your life at work or business or socially. You want to mitigate any kind of stress that may ensue, or the potential stress. Some environments that we work in is just by default stressful, and that's, there are certain things we just cannot change or control. There are certain things that we cannot control, and that's okay. But the things that we can control, those are the things that we look at. Those are the things that we, take hold of and work with. But we continue to ask ourselves, the questions. And keep in mind, I said that when I talk about redesigning or self-examination and so forth, and the things that I usually focus on are the traditions, the traditional way of thinking, the traditional habits and patterns of social, cultural construct, and all that. Those are the things that I take a look at. Now, some may work, some may still work for me, and I will keep those. It doesn't mean that you have to ditch everything. No. If it works for you, again, and you don't compare yourself with anyone else, you may get ideas from other people, but if it works for you, then that's what you do. You keep that. But at the same time, the fun part of it is that you can create new things. You become creative. You start looking for new things. My husband and I, when I mentioned earlier that, when we came together to really inventory the last few years of our marriage, our union or partnership together, we start looking at everything, and we start, we got into deep conversations, and that was just lovely, because it's something that we had really never done to that extent. You talk about things, but we really dissected everything, and every hiccup that we may have had. You dissected what caused it. Was it external agent? And when I say external agent, it could be influenced by work, influenced by family, influenced by relatives. And you want to make sure that you keep, at least for us, we make, my husband, he's a stickler on that. He does not want anyone from the outside to adversely affect our relationship in an adverse manner, like, to cause any stress or situation. He does not. And not just him. I mean, we both, that's something that we both focus on. And we really pay attention to that. But doing inventory is really something else, because it really lays it out. It just lays it out on a canvas, and it says, this is what, when this happened, this is how it affected me or us or this kind of whatever. And then, we make sure that we lay that out, not to repeat it. I am one that I remember everything. I do. Things that he doesn't even, sometimes it doesn't even come to mind, because whenever it happened, it hasn't really been like a big deal, like a big, so it's something sometimes we even go unsettled and so forth. But the fact that it stays there and it's worth a conversation, that moment of inventorying our relationship was worth bringing it up. He said, "Oh my gosh, I did not even remember that, and I didn't know that it affected you in that way." And it's like, oh, wow, we'll make sure we keep an eye on that it never uh happen again, or I'm glad I know now, or something, and vice versa. My husband is a little more easygoing than me. I am intense in the sense that I am so intentional. No apologies here. Very intentional. It works. It works for us because it keeps us stimulated, emotionally stimulated, for the good of our relationship. And then when you sit, when okay, so all of that inventory is done, the shelves are clear, everything is back in where, gotten rid of it or where it belong or so forth. And then you start bridging, tightening the screws of the bridge. You start blending both persons. For us, it was more like a smoothie, me and then my husband, and then you blend it together, you add the ingredients, you add the protein, you add the yogurt, and you blend it, and it turns out to be a smoothie. And in our minds, it's a perfect smoothie for us, because, as my husband always say, the quality of our relationship at home, when we are together alone, the way we treat each other, the way we talk to each other, the things we share, that when that happens naturally, without an audience, without any kind of performance, then when you go out, it's like you say, when I leave my home and I hug my wife and I hug you and I kiss you, I go to the office and I feel like a champion. I feel so, my step is just quick. And that's true, because I remember when I was in corporate America, I went to work highly motivated every day. I didn't, well, you know what I mean. Very rarely did I have a bad day, because I'm so mindful of that. And in my mind, I'm always say I create the kind of day that I want to have. So it's true. So what you do, the habits, the patterns, the customs that you create on the inside, even within yourself, like some people have certain habits. You wash your hands a lot. Some people have just different things that they do, that they know that it becomes a habit. You don't think about it. You just do it. And as you just do it. Why? Because it's part of you. And in yourself, with yourself, those of you that I mentioned, if you are single, and I say that because I have some friends that are single, beautiful people, male and female, that are hoping for to be coupled, to be in a relationship with someone, and so forth. Keep it alive. keep the desire, keep your desire. I don't use hope. Hope is, it's been, you know, I have some friend that's been hoping for things, 30, 40 years, and I don't do hope. But and again, that is just me, because I redefine things in my life. So I say, keep that desire alive. Don't let it die. Don't listen to the naysayers out there that time is moving fast, and at this season of your life it's not going to happen, and that people out there, they're not trustworthy. There's only one person that you desire to meet, not people, just one person. And as you keep your desire alive, as you keep your desire stimulated, and your thoughts and your emotion that goes along with that, you will begin to align your entire energy, your frequency will begin to vibe in that vein. And you will start building a mindset, building building that state of alignment. Because if you think it, my friend, if you think it, excuse me, if you think it, it already exists. If you think it having to do with you, it's because it already exists. Whatever it is, you want to take a trip to Europe, to South America, to Africa, to Asia, whatever. If that desire is within you, then simply align with it. Keep the desire. Add the emotion that goes with it. When you're getting ready for a trip, at least us, when we were getting ready for to travel someplace, for me, it's always exciting, because my husband and I were talking the other night, and we have some plans, and he's like, we need to check this out, and see what's there, and see what we're gonna do, and all of that. The planning is like part of this whole excitement, and then you add your emotion into it. You already have it already in your mind. Then you start making plans, you start booking this and booking that, and then you just align until it just manifests. But you play a part in it. Remember, you become the author. You are functioning on your own blueprint. You are building using your own blueprint. You have already written the story with your pen. You hold the pen to the manuscript. You are no longer following someone else's blueprint. Get out of that whole construction site. That is not your blueprint for your life, because the only life that you can build is your life. You can't put yourself in a position where you're going to build somebody else's life. No, they take care of their own self authorship, self examination, self architecture, identity architecture. Make sure the blueprint is your blueprint. And when you're going to write the story, make sure, my friend, that you hold the pen. That you hold the pen and you determine what it's going to be like. As a matter of fact, you can do it from now. What is it that you expect? What have you determined that you want your life to be? Think about it. Because you could go que sera, or you can say this is what, and it doesn't matter what situation you're in. Never do, oh, woe is me, or never think in terms of victimhood. I'm a victim of this, I'm a victim of that. It doesn't matter. As long as your brain, as long as you can think and reason for yourself, then you can effect the changes that you desire. You can keep the pen in your hand to write your story, your own manuscript. It's time, my friend, to update the plan. Whatever plans you had way before you were, you came into the version of who you are now, it needs an update. Why? Because you have changed. You have different thoughts, different desires, different needs, different wants, different dreams, different ambitions. It's all different. So you need to update the plan. And the plans that you had in the past, it's not like they failed. No, those plans haven't failed. They're just they're different plans, different. You're a different version of yourself, so you update. It's kind of like your phone. We are about to get some new phones, and every time you get a phone, an iPhone, you reset it and you update everything. As a matter of fact, last night I did an update on my phone. I think it's 26.6.1. And I am quick. The moment I get a notification that there's an update, I like to be current. The moment I get it, I update my phone, I update my husband's phone and all my electronics, iPad, laptop, all of that. The same thing applies to your life. You update every time there is a change, maybe in your mind or in your outlook on life. You begin to update. Stay current, and always believe that you can. Check your thoughts and check your emotions and make sure that you begin to align them with the new update. The past is not a failure. It's just that you are a new version of who you are. And start, looking in the mirror and appreciating who you are, and be excited about yourself, and look in the mirror and call yourself handsome and beautiful and smart and intelligent. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with my sister the other day. We had a Zoom chat between us, and we were talking about some technical issues. And I shared some things with her that she didn't know about technology and the internet and this, that, the other, and all of that. And my sister ran with it. Now, but my sister's a nurse. Well, she's retired now, but she's a nurse. So she's geared into the medical field, but she's smart. She ran with it. So we were talking a couple of nights ago, and she showed us some things that were a result of that conversation that we had. And then I learned something from it. She went above and beyond. I'm like, dang. So my husband and I, we were together, on speakerphone, and we were talking to her, and so my husband says, dang, so Cynthia now has some things to learn from you. It was fascinating. Why? Because she ran with it. She thought, damn, I'm going to, and she learned it above and beyond what I showed her. And, I was like, damn, you're something else, and you're just a badass. So the next day I sent a text, and I said, Noelle and I are so impressed with the way you have grab this whole, not electronic, this whole digital concept, and what she shared, and ran with it and created this. It's just really impressive. So I had to tell her that, we are really impressed with your initiative and understanding, and how she went above and beyond to learn for herself. Remember, I shared with you, you can give people information, but you cannot make them know something. They have to want it and go do their own research and figure things out on their own. And you can do the same for every area of your life. You can take the bull by the horn, and you can create, you can change, you can redefine, redesign, reinvent, recreate. You can do all of that and be unapologetic. You don't have to explain, you don't have to justify, you don't need affirmation, permission, none of that. you are functioning as a self-author. You complete self-authorship, sovereign, and governing your life. I'm going to leave you with that, my friend, so that you can sup on that. I get excited about the things that I share because what I share with you are things that I apply to my own self and things that I am walking through. And as I see how it works for me, that's what I desire for you, that you take this step so that you can improve your life and make sure that it's meaningful, that you come to that place where you can live in your authenticity and live organically by the choices that you make, the life that you want. You make it meaningful so that you can be fulfilled with it. Again, I'll leave you with that so that you can sup on it. Every Thursday, we meet right here, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you can't join me at 2 p.m., you see the icons over here: Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can pick up the feed 24/7 on those platforms. My email is right here, info@thecynthialinoxshow.com. If you have something to share, or you want me to share something, or whatever, you want to chat with me, you can always shoot me an email. I respond to all my emails, and we can take it from there. In the meantime, my friend, I'm going to say have a phenomenal weekend. Whatever you do, just make it fun or do the best you can to enjoy your weekend. I am going to see you next Thursday, or I will be back next Thursday, same time, same place, and, with more nuggets that we can share that will benefit all of us. Ciao, amigo. Hasta la próxima. Hasta la próxima semana.